Anyway, there's an oil boom happening in North Dakota, and we have Blaire Briody on tonight. She's a journalist that wants to cover all of it. She's got a big passion of making sure that everyone sees what's happening, talking about the American dream. So tonight, if you have questions about how to get things published, how to get your crowdfunding kickstarted, fair streeted, etc., then tune in for the entire 30 minutes and use the hashtag YFEchat. Hi everyone, this is your host, Jennifer Dono. I am your host, Jennifer Dono, for another weekly YFE Chat Live that happens every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern here at YFElive.com. And tonight's episode is brought to you by OvalEye.tv. OvalEye TV hosts and produces live video events built to meet your objective. Visit OvalEye.tv to request a free 30-minute consultation today to find out more about going live with your brand. And so every Thursday night we bring in someone new, someone exciting, or a new topic, something that can just kind of spark our minds and make us think a little bit differently when it comes to building our businesses. And tonight's guest is Blaire Briody, and she is she's actually using this really cool crowdfunding platform called fairstreet.com. It's a new one that I haven't heard of yet, so we're going to get her take on why she chose to use this platform, what the benefits are, and then also talking about the project The Oilmen. That's her project that she's getting funded for, and it's all about the oil boom in North Dakota. And if you haven't heard about this yet, then make sure that you watch the entire 30 minutes because it's something that's interesting that I don't feel like is really being, like Blaire says in a number of publications I've read, she says that there's not enough being said about this. Journalists show up for a day, they leave, and it's just an entirely different economy happening there. If you visited her Fair Street project page, she talks about how McDonald's has a signing bonus. So you get a job there, and I think she said something like a $200 signing bonus. And housing is hard to find. It's expensive to live there because people are getting paid $120,000 plus a year by these oil companies. So anyway, it's going to be a really interesting conversation that'll hopefully get us thinking about a few different things. But before we get into too much, I want to thank everyone that's showing up live. I really appreciate it. And Nikki Steele, she's on, oh gosh, I love all the blog posts she does. She will sometimes recap the YFE Chat Lives. If any of you guys want to do that, I am so excited to share all of them because it's always fun to get other perspectives in the conversation, right? And so sharing insight, things that you found during the video that the guest said, mentioned, etc., and how you apply it into your own business. We all learn from all of that. So Nikki Steele has done that a few times. And she was on Instagram earlier sharing what she's dining on today, popcorn and champagne, and I'm very envious. And Nikki, did I wear this shirt last week? I might have, so I apologize if I did. So anyway, thank you guys so much for showing up live. Before we bring on our guest Blaire, I want to go ahead and talk about the latest at YFE, which is brought to you by MailChimp. Another one of our awesome sponsors, MailChimp, is the best way to design, send, and share email newsletters. You can get started today at MailChimp.com. Hopefully you've signed up for our Mailed It newsletter. It's yfe.me/mailedit, using the hashtag MailedIt too sometimes when we send them out. So, anyway, the Mailed It recently that we sent out was about tonight, but we have a number of really cool events that are happening. If you're in the Seattle area, you probably got a mailer from us. I'm going to be at Vlogger Fair this weekend, which is by Chris Perillo, who's a very prominent YouTuber in our area. He's bringing together YouTubers from around the world, and so it's a big unconference type of a thing where people are showing up to network, to meet other vloggers, to cross promote. So if you're a business owner that is in Portland, Vancouver, Seattle area, show up to Vlogger Fair this weekend. If you can't go for whatever reason, I believe they have a live stream that's happening. But I feel like the biggest impact of why you go to an event like this is to just meet other people that are doing what you're doing and to ask questions, and most importantly, to just to collaborate on things, especially when it comes to vlogging. It seems like that's where the power happens. So make sure that you check that out. It's at vloggerfair.com, and I actually have a 50% off link courtesy Jenny Hogan, the beautiful Jenny Hogan. She's an anchor in our area, or a past, you'll probably know her from Cairo, I believe is what she was on, and now she's huge in social media, and she's also one of the pioneering live streaming social media personalities of today, which is really interesting. So make sure that you guys follow her. I believe it's at Jenny Hogan with an I, Jenny. She's really cool. So she has a 50% off link. I'll have to share in the comments or somehow later on today. But apart from that, YFE Seattle is having another event on Thursday, June 13th, and I saw Tessa in the chat room. She's one of our YFE city coordinators. I adore Tessa and Christina. They're our city coordinators in Seattle. Their events always prove to be just awesome. Really cool people show up, awesome speakers. And so the speakers that are presenting, I think I have a screen capture of them. One of them was GeekWire's, a nominee for their CEO of the Year, I believe is what the title was, or the nomination was for. And this Liz Pierce, CEO of Liquid Planner. And then we've also got a couple other speakers and really cool location, awesome sponsors too. Yeah, there's Tessa and Christina. So make sure that you show up to Seattle's event on the 13th and RSVP as soon as you can, because they are giving away some really cool swag bags, but it's only for the first, couple people that sign up. So make sure that you do that as soon as possible. And finally, before we bring Blaire on, thanks guys for handling the recap stuff, which Corey Freeman, you're too brain dead for this. I totally understand. It's been a really long week, but I want to make sure that everyone gets a nice shout out. Corey says she's brain dead. So the last one is for Bootstrap Book Club, and we've got two. I just want to shout out to these women because I absolutely adore them. Jennifer Kent and Chandra Russell. They're our hosts for the Bootstrap Book Club. There's Jennifer Kent. So we're just finishing it up. So make sure that you go to facebook.com/groups/Bootstrap Book Club, something like that, and answer the questions, get in the discussion. And they've been so good about posting each week. I think I have a couple of their images up there if you can. And I'm very grateful for all the discussion, as I mentioned earlier in the group. It's a lot of we're already on to our next book soon, and I was mentioning Kickstart Kitchen, the girls that founded it, Jules and Christina. No, that's so off. Our producers is off. It's two women over on the very bottom right. There we go. There they are. So anyway, we're just moving on to our next one, and so I was mentioning it's crazy that we're already getting into our next book, so hopefully you guys can join us there. So without further ado, now that I've talked for way too long, but I hope I get to see you guys outside of the live stream in other places, so try and sign up for something else or be somewhere else and see me. So anyway, if you're just showing up live now, we're going to be talking about The Oilman, a project off of fairstreet.com created by Blaire Briody. Very excited to welcome her on in just a minute. I want to get you guys caught up with where I am and show you her video and let you learn a little bit about what she's doing.
My name is Blaire Briody, and I work at the Fiscal Times as an editor and writer, and I cover the job market and unemployment, career trends, education, technology, science, and a bunch of other subjects. But I've been following what's been going on in North Dakota for a while now, and I've been really fascinated by what's going on there. There's a huge oil boom. Thousands of men and a few women are arriving every week and trying to get jobs there. It has the lowest unemployment rate in the entire country, and when the rest of America is still struggling, what's it like to be in a place where there are too many jobs? And there's been man camps that have cropped up, like in Walmart parking lots. I want to go see what's really going on there. There's not a lot of reporters out there, and the ones that do cover it, it's like they just pop in for a week and then head back to their office in New York, and I want to live there for at least 2 months. So I really want to look at this in a deeper way than just a magazine article can. America's going through this huge shift, especially with the blue-collar workforce. There's just not a huge workforce in manufacturing anymore. Agriculture has been largely automated. So that's hard to find a job in anymore. And so a lot of these guys maybe have gone to construction, but then only to get laid off during the recession. So what do they do now? There's not a whole lot for them to do, and these are like manly men. I think a lot of these men feel completely lost in this economy, and so they're hoping to find something in North Dakota, and they've heard of stories of 22-year-olds making $100,000 a year, and it's very much like the American dream. They feel like they can be a part of this. It was very sort of quiet, quaint place, lots of open space, lots of beautiful scenery, and very small towns. Like, it had the lowest population in the entire country. And then suddenly there's this huge boom where people are becoming millionaires. The locals really aren't seeing a lot of the wealth trickle down. So I'm writing a narrative nonfiction book about what's going on there. I want to have a photo element to this too, and a blog. So people who donate, they will get something out of it, no matter what happens to the book. I will be, having a photographer with me. It's also just, the quintessential American story. It's risking everything to pursue a better life. I want to see, what happens when a small town becomes this all-male metropolis, and then what happens when it all goes away.
All right, so we just learned a little bit about the oilmen, and now we've got Blaire Briody on. Blaire, thank you so much for being live with us. So there we go. So why Williston? Why oil? I completely agree with you. I've met a number of men that have recently come back from North Dakota. I know of a number of other stories of people that have gone over there, and I know very faintly about what's happening, and I understand more needs to be done about covering this phenomenon, but why the passion for oil in North Dakota? Where is all this stemming from? Why are you doing this?
Well, a lot of people ask me that, and it's funny because I'm not an expert in oil or energy. I've never actually been to North Dakota, so it is a good question. What gave me the idea is around last fall, I read a news article about these homeless oil workers living in a Walmart parking lot, and I was shocked this was happening, and I hadn't heard about it. And I've always loved adventure journalism and journalists who kind of immerse themselves in these crazy situations and write what happens. And so I'd been looking for something because I've always wanted to write a book. And so after this Walmart story, I just kept thinking about it, and I started reading everything I could find about the oil boom, and I just couldn't stop. I couldn't get it out of my mind. And then when this Fair Street project came up, my friend approached me about it, and I was like, this is it. This is the time to go do this. This is the book I want to write. So that's how it happened.
Very cool. Now, your background is actually, you're a journalist, and what publication do you work for again?
I work for the Fiscal Times, so I cover job news, the economy, and then a lot of other topics as well.
So, and I should mention that everyone that's watching live, you're able to actually chat in the questions live to Blaire in the chat box below, but you can also call in. We have our call-in line open tonight at 855 415-4YFE. I see if we can put that in the lower thirds for you guys. So if you have a question for Blaire about getting published or about her project, make sure that you can call in or chat in your questions, and I'll make sure they get over to her. But Blaire, so talking about the project, one of the things that struck me was the idea of that you're researching or finding out more or commenting on the American dream. And a lot of the people that we've had on this show, one of them is Nancy of Sweet Tea Salon, I believe is what it's called. And you guys will have to check her out. She's fantastic. Great interview. She was someone that came into the U.S. with her parents at a very young age. And she is someone that I see as really exemplifying the idea or the ideal of the American dream. What do you see, as in coming into this project, what do you see as the modern day American dream, and what do you hope to discover when you go to North Dakota?
Yeah, I mean, I think the American dream question is a tough question and kind of an ever-evolving question. I mean, for some people, it's about finding their dream job or becoming wildly successful, and for others, it's simply to support their family and send their kids to college, I think with the workers heading into North Dakota, most of them are men, and a lot of them have suffered a great deal during the recession, so they maybe worked in industries like manufacturing, which have become largely automated, or they were in construction and were laid off with everyone else in the recession. And so a lot of them, the few that I've talked to, and I think this is a larger trend that I'll be exploring, a lot of them I think have been sitting home for years while their wives are becoming the breadwinners, and they're collecting, unemployment or looking for jobs that really don't cater to their skills. And so I think for them, going to North Dakota is not only a way for them to pursue the American dream, but kind of also to take back their masculinity and feel confident about themselves again.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's so much that could be said about this. Just looking at some of the images, and we're gonna get to in a second what it is, because you're not just doing a book about this. You're a writer, but you also have partners that are going to be creating some photo. There's going to be a photo element and a film element to this. But in terms of what it is that you're researching and how you've already gone into this project, what is it that's happening? Like I mentioned earlier, you talk about on the Fair Street page how McDonald's is giving out signing bonuses. What other kind of crazy things that you can't really see anywhere else happening right now, but that you see in North Dakota?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, as you said, the jobs like McDonald's or Walmart, or sort of these low-skill jobs, they can't find people to work them because you can't pay someone $10 an hour when there's all these other higher-paying jobs out there, and the living costs are so high. So, like, it costs, people are telling me $7 for a gallon of milk. It's about $2,000 for a month for a one-bedroom apartment. That's Manhattan. That's Manhattan prices, So it's really hard to live out there if you're only making $10 an hour. So McDonald's and Walmart and all these places are really struggling. Like they can't find enough waitresses. They can't find. A lot of the women are telling me they can't find any daycare for their children. The schools are overcrowded. North Dakota just simply doesn't have enough resources for all these people to be supporting all these people. So it's creating lots of problems and interesting issues. And
well, and you know why I wanted to have you on this is because I like that you're focusing on, in part, here are all the problems that are happening. You're just saying, here's all the issues. There's this big boom happening. How can we fix all this? And you know who's really good at fixing things? Are entrepreneurs. And so it seemed like this was an area ripe for problem solving. And this is exactly what entrepreneurs do. So if you're looking for a new project, all of you young female entrepreneurs out there, it seems like this is a space where you can really do that. So we have a couple of questions in the chat. One is from Chris Stotler. Chris, hopefully I pronounced your last name right. And that is approximately what percentage of professionals work in North Dakota in the oil rigs, working in the oil rigs are female, and what percentage of men are single out there? I don't know if you've gotten that far in your research, but if you can give us an idea of what kind of women, or what percentage of women that are actually in the oil, so not just like, working at McDonald's or being a waitress, that are actually in there, and then what kind of marriage ratios we've got out there.
Yeah, I know there are very few women out there, and especially working in oil. There are, I think if they do go into it, they're more likely to be an engineer working on the oil rigs, or the support staff. I know like a lot of the medical staff will attract females. And I'm sure there are, though, a handful of women that are working on the rigs, and I hope to find them and interview them. And then I do think it's a lot of single men. I think the age is pretty young, or it's men going out there and leaving their families in a different state, and they're only able to visit their families once in a while. So they're kind of becoming this almost like a migrant worker.
So with that being said, another question is from Nikki Steele. She's asking what your biggest challenge is going to be as far as the research and reaching out to workers, conveying the scope. So what's your biggest challenge going to be, considering that all of these people, I mean, they probably work crazy hours. It's 40 degrees below, I believe, in the winter, I think you said. It's harsh conditions and very strange environment. So what are your biggest challenges in terms of getting started?
Yeah, so I mean, there's going to be challenges the whole way. I mean, just even finding a place for me to live is going to be hard. It looks like I'm going to be living in my parents' camper, and we're trying to find a good spot to put it. So, and then it's really, I mean, it's really hard to know what it's going to be like out there. I'm trying to make as many contacts right now as possible to connect me with people, and then it's also going to be a big challenge just to find that focus for the book, because there's so much to cover and I want to cover it all, but I have to pick one direction to focus on. So
that makes sense. So now you actually have a number of, like I mentioned, you have a couple partners that are doing there's someone in photography and someone that is being taking more of the documentary angle. So first of all, how are you forming this entity? I mean, this is something that you're going to fairstreet.com and you're getting crowdfunding to get the project moving. So it's not like a separate media company is funding this, right? This is kind of like Blaire's thing. So how are you organizing this project? Is this your own media company? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's sort of just a DIY project. I know the photographer and the documentary filmmaker, and I'll be mainly like finding the subjects and kind of picking the direction, and then I'm hiring them sort of on a freelance basis with the funds that we raise to fly them out there and for them to do some work out there. So there's no type of like equity promise at the end or anything like that. It's really they're being hired by you. It's your project. They'll own their work. Like once their photos and the video, they'll own that completely. So they can definitely take that and do what they want with it. But for my purposes, I really wanted a multimedia element to this. I think even I love reading books, but not everyone likes to consume stories that way. And I think in the digital age, it's important for authors to kind of think more of the project as a multimedia platform. So I hope we can just, each element to the project can kind of play off of each other. And I love collaborating, so... That's a great point, though, that you brought up as far as the multimedia piece. So it's not just an ebook, it's not just a hard copy self-published book or anything like that. You've really covered all bases, and I think maybe, do you feel like that it's on a case-by-case basis, so not everyone needs to have that's creating a book or trying to tell a story? Because North Dakota, it's so visual. That's something that we don't get to see. What does it look like? What's happening on the ground? Do you think it's case-by-case basis, or is this something like worldwide that you're seeing in media? I mean, I think it's definitely becoming more popular too. I mean, I think if you're going to have an ebook, how cool would that be to be reading about this main character, and then suddenly you have this slideshow showing this character in their element. So I think it can just really enhance the whole experience. And I know I love photography, I love documentaries, so it's exciting for me as well. So on your Fair Street page, I'm getting into the crowdfunding element of all of this, because it's going to be expensive no matter what. I mean, if you're talking about somewhere where a one-bedroom apartment is $1,000 a month, it's going to cost you a nice amount of money. And Fair Street, why? So a couple of questions. Why did you choose Fair Street as a platform? And then also, you have this really interesting partnership with Social Catalyst in that they're matching the sponsorship. Why Fair Street, and then how did this partnership come about? For anyone that's interested in crowdfunding, how could they replicate this? Well, Fair Street it's similar to places like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, but the way Fair Street's different is they kind of give you a great support team. They vet each project carefully, so they only take on, certain projects, and they put a ton of effort into promoting it and helping it get funded. So I would highly recommend them. They're brand new, so they're looking for new projects. And they also paid for the video to be done, which as you saw was very professional, and I think that would have been hard for me to do on my own. And I think that made a huge difference. And then they also really believed in my project and gave me sort of that push that I needed to start it. And I think with Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you're pretty much on your own.
So they sound like very much more one-on-one, like personalized service over just kind of a platform that you can put something out on.
Right, yeah. And then the social catalyst was, I was shocked. It was a surprise to me. It was that was through the Fair Street team. They actually sent my project to this social catalyst company that they knew the founder, and they told him about it. And I think was just really interested in the topic. He saw what happened in Alberta, Canada, with their oil boom. And so they chose to sponsor the project and match funds that came in the last couple weeks. So
that's so cool.
It was very exciting.
And so
I don't know how often they do that, but
a lot of this was all of Fair Street. It wasn't you going out and actively, because we've had a number of crowdfunding. You're probably one of the last crowdfunding people we'll have on the show, because I always think it's interesting when these projects come up that are trying to get funded. I in part want to just share what's being, what's cool that's happening and that needs money basically in order to happen. But the other part is just the journey of getting funding it's in of itself very interesting. It's a lot of work from what I've our past people that are Kickstarters. We've had a couple Kickstarters on that have made a nice amount of money. One of them made $1 million within like the first 24 hours. That was a different kind of story, but they've all said, like the one that made $1 million, they had a staff of 7 people that were on it, that were trying to get this going. A couple of the ones that were young female entrepreneurs that are, small, asking for 10,000 or under, they were completely dedicated. They'd literally stand in the grocery line and hand someone a card and say, fund my project. Is that the kind of experience you guys had, or was it more of just like Fair Street took care of a lot of the stuff and so you could focus on your art versus on the entrepreneurial part of it?
They definitely helped promote it, but it was completely not what I expected, and it was way more work than I expected as well. Even though everyone told me it was going to be a lot of work, it was still more than I expected. I think what surprised me most is I kind of pictured getting tons of publicity because I have lots of media contacts, and then tons of strangers would come and give small amounts to the project, and we'd get to $10,000. But in reality, the money really comes from people like my 95-year-old grandma and my 5th grade teacher and so many friends and family who just showed incredible generosity, and even when they themselves don't have that much. And so I feel this immense responsibility with this money, that to make sure it's spent wisely and to make this project the best it can be. So it was a really humbling experience, and I was very overwhelmed with the support and kindness that I was shown. But it was definitely not any stranger. It was maybe 5 strangers gave. So it was not what I expected in that sense.
I think that's a great takeaway, insights, I guess you could say, into the whole crowdfunding experience, because that is kind of what I look at, at Fair Street and other places, and I think, wow, these people, what prompts someone to give money to someone where you're not going to see what you've paid for until months out. So that's great to keep that in mind. And then Nikki Steele, who's a writer, a fantastic writer, she's saying that you're still doing all the work, so kudos for you, Blaire. So really good job. I agree, Nikki. And then just in closing, Chris Stotler was also asking another question about the oil boom and how long it's lasting in North Dakota. Can you leave us with any thoughts as far as your project goes, and maybe what it is that you hope to come away with knowing, like some ideas that you're thinking, okay, this is what the oil boom is going to look like, or this is what I expect to see, so that in 6 months later we can look at this video and look at your project and be like, wow, her expectations were totally different, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, because as much as I'm trying to do research now, I kind of don't want to project too much until I actually see what's happening while I'm there. But I really want to look at this in a bigger picture way and see, like, what does this mean for all of us? Like, it's really interesting to hear about what's happening there, but what does it mean for the environment? What does it mean for energy independence? What does it mean for sort of this new way of blue collar work? And is this the new way for blue collar workers to survive in this country? So that's really what I'm hoping to look at when I'm out there.
Very nice. Well, so Blaire, where can we find this project on Fair Street and support you and find out and just keep tabs with you basically as you move? Because this is going to be really interesting just to keep up on your Twitter feed and see what's going on.
I'll be blogging about it. I'll be keeping everyone updated. So the best way probably is to find the Oil Men on Facebook and like that page, because I've been updating most regularly on there. Then my Twitter handle is just Blaire Briody, so that will help. And then I still have to get all of the blogging platform stuff ready. So as long as you find me on Facebook and Twitter, you'll get all that information.
I'm excited. I think this is just an insane adventure. Talk about the American dream. You're going to be capturing these people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. You're basically throwing away everything, risking a lot, a full-time job, and going to go cover this and kind of living out what it is that you want to do, living out your passion. And I think that's something to be inspired by. So, Blaire, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really great.
And good luck. Good luck with everything. I hope you reach your goals and keep us in the loop of what happens.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Blaire. So we've been watching Blaire. She is doing a Fair Street project, crowdfunding it to get over to North Dakota, and it's going to be a really interesting journey for her. So make sure that you guys follow her on Twitter and that you check out her Fair Street page, and I believe it's fair.st/oilmen. Next Thursday, we've got another YFE Chat Live at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. Thank you so much for showing up live tonight. We missed at the Stacey Harris on our Twitter handle on YF Entrepreneur, but we had Catherine over there. And so hopefully everyone can connect with us with YFE on Twitter at twitter.com/YF Entrepreneur. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/YF Entrepreneur, at youngfemaleentrepreneurs.com. Make sure that you sign up for Mailed It to keep in touch with all of us. I hope to see you guys at Vlogger Fair. Hopefully you guys will check out the Seattle event that's coming up, and that you join Bootstrap Book Club. This has been Jennifer Dono with Young Female Entrepreneurs. Hope to see you again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern here at YFElive.com.